The rain started the moment I stepped out of the limousine. Typical, I thought. If this were a movie, the sky would open up right when the widow walks to the grave. Someone would hold a black umbrella over my head. I'd stare at the casket with stoic dignity, tears mixing with rain. A portrait of grief. But this wasn't a movie. And the only person holding an umbrella was me. I stood at the edge of the grave in my black dress, the same one I'd worn to my mother's funeral 3 years ago, and listened to the pastor say words about a man I wasn't sure I recognized anymore. Devoted husband, loving father. Taken too soon. The lies we tell at funerals. Beside me, my mother-in-law, Margaret, sobbed into a handkerchief. My father-in-law, Richard, stared at the casket with the hollow eyes of a man who'd just lost his only son. My sister Claire gripped my hand so hard her nails left marks. And somewhere behind me, in the back row of folding chairs, sat a woman I'd never seen before. I didn't notice her at first. I was too focused on not collapsing, on breathing, on keeping my face arranged in the expression people expected from a widow. But Claire noticed. "Who's that?" she whispered during a prayer. I didn't turn around. Who? Behind us. Far left. Blonde. Sunglasses. Sunglasses at a funeral? That's what I'm saying. I didn't look. Couldn't look. If I turned around, I'd see the casket again. The flowers. The photos of Daniel's face. Young, smiling, alive. Propped up on an easel like he was already a memory. So I let it go. Mistake number 1. The reception was at our house in Evanston. The same house Daniel and I had bought 6 years ago, when we thought forever was something you could plan. Margaret organized everything. The food, the flowers, the photos arranged on every surface like a museum of a marriage. I moved through the rooms like a ghost in my own life. People hugged me, said things. So sorry. So sudden. If you need anything. I nodded, smiled. Poured coffee I didn't drink. Claire stayed close, running interference, deflecting the worst questions. How are you really? What are you going to do now? Did he have life insurance? The last one came from Daniel's Aunt Beth, who'd never liked me and wasn't bothering to hide it now. Yes, I said flatly. He had life insurance. She nodded like that was the answer she'd been waiting for. Around 4 p.m., the crowd started thinning. Margaret and Richard left first. Richard couldn't stop crying, and Margaret needed to get him home. Friends followed. Co-workers. Neighbors. By 5:30, it was just Claire and me and the mess of half-eaten casseroles. Sit down, Claire ordered. I'll clean up. I can help. You can sit. That's an order. I sat on the couch. Our couch, the one we'd argued about in the furniture store because Daniel wanted leather and I wanted fabric, and we'd compromised on something neither of us loved. Typical. My phone was in my hand. I don't know when I'd picked it up. I stared at the screen, at Daniel's name in my contacts, at the last text he'd sent me 3 days before he died. Running late. Don't wait up. I'd replied. Always late. Red heart. That was it. The last words I ever sent my husband. I was still staring at it when the phone buzzed. A text. From Daniel. My brain short-circuited. It had to be a glitch. A phantom notification. Something from before, delayed by the cell network or the universe playing some cruel joke. I opened it. Daniel. Turn around. I froze. The hair on my arm stood up. My heart stopped. Literally stopped for what felt like an eternity, and then slammed back to life so hard I felt dizzy. Claire. My voice didn't sound like mine. What? Claire. She heard something in my tone and came over fast. What? What is it? I held up the phone. She read the screen. Her face went white. What the fuck? She whispered. I turned around. The house was empty. The front door was closed. The curtains were drawn. But at the back of the living room, in the doorway to the kitchen, stood a woman. Blonde. Sunglasses. The same woman from the funeral. She held up her phone. On the screen, my text thread with Daniel was open, and she was typing. My phone buzzed again. I looked down. Daniel, we need to talk. For a moment, no one moved. The woman stood in the kitchen doorway, phone in hand, sunglasses still on despite the dim light of the living room. Claire's grip on my arm tightened so hard I felt my pulse in her fingers. "Who the hell are you?" Claire's voice was sharp, defensive, ready to fight. The woman didn't answer immediately. She looked at me. I could feel it even through the dark lenses, and then slowly, deliberately, she reached up and removed the sunglasses. Young. That was my first thought. Younger than me. Definitely younger than Daniel. Maybe mid-20s. Blonde hair pulled back in a low ponytail. Pale skin. Eyes that were red-rimmed and swollen. She'd been crying. "You're Ava," she said. Not a question. "Who are you?" She took a step forward. Claire moved instinctively in front of me, but I put a hand on her arm. I needed to see this woman. Needed to understand what was happening. "My name is Kendall," she said. "Kendall Hayes." Nothing. The name meant nothing to me. "I'm sorry to do this here," she continued. "Today. Like this. But I didn't know how else. I've been trying to find the right time for weeks, and then he died, and I—" Her voice cracked. She pressed a hand to her mouth. I stared at her, and then, slowly, pieces started clicking together in a way I didn't want them to. The late nights. The business trips that didn't quite make sense. The way Daniel had been distracted for months, always on his phone, always stepping into another room to take calls. The distance I'd blamed on work stress, on his father's health issues, on everything except the obvious. No. How did you get his phone?" I asked. She blinked. "What?" "Daniel's phone. You're texting me from Daniel's phone. How did you get it?" She looked down at the device in her hand like she'd forgotten she was holding it. "He gave it to me. Months ago. He had two. Work and personal. This was his personal one. His personal phone. The one I texted. The one that sent me 'Don't wait up 3 days' before he died. He gave it to her. Months ago." I sat down. Not because I wanted to, because my legs stopped working. Claire was still standing, still ready to fight. "You need to leave." "Claire, wait." My voice was quiet, but it stopped her. "I need to hear this." Kendall looked at me with something that might have been gratitude or guilt or both. "I know this is insane. I know I know you just buried him. I didn't plan this. I was going to stay in the back, just be there, say goodbye. But then I saw you, and I could not. Start at the beginning." I cut her off. "Who are you to Daniel?" She swallowed. "I was his girlfriend." The words landed like stones in still water. Ripples. Silence. "For how long?" I asked. 8 months. 8 months. 8 months of me making his coffee. 8 months of me picking up his dry cleaning and scheduling his doctor's appointments and believing we were working on our marriage. 8 months of him telling me he loved me while building a life with someone else. Again, I thought of the last story I'd written. The lottery. The betrayal. The way I'd imagined that was the worst thing that could happen to a woman. I was wrong. This was worse. Because Daniel was dead. And I couldn't even confront him. "He told me he was leaving you," Kendall continued, her voice shaking. "That's what he said from the beginning. He said the marriage was over, that you were just waiting for Lily to get a little older, that you'd agreed to separate quietly after the holidays. Lily, our daughter, 7 years old, asleep upstairs this whole time, with a sitter who thought she was helping a grieving family. You've been to my house," I said slowly. "You've seen my daughter." "No. Never. I swear." He showed me pictures, but I wouldn't. "You're texting me from his phone. You have his personal phone. How close do you have to be to someone to have their personal phone?" She flinched. We were living together. Part-time. He had an apartment in the city. He said you knew. He said it was temporary, until Lily adjusted. An apartment. My husband had an apartment. For 8 months. And I didn't know. I thought about the nights he worked late, the weekends he went to visit his parents, the times I offered to come with him, and he said no, I should stay with Lily, he'd be back soon. I'd believed him. I'd believed all of it. Claire was crying now. I didn't notice when she started. Her face was wet, and she was gripping the back of the couch like she might fall. "Ava," she whispered. "Ava, say something." I looked at Kendall. Why are you here? She met my eyes, hers filled with tears again. Because I loved him. That's not an answer. Because I found out yesterday that he lied to me too. Her voice broke. About you. About Lily. About everything. I thought I was his future. I thought we were building something. And then he died and I started going through his things and I found.
She stopped.
Found what? Kendall reached into her purse. Her hand was shaking so badly she dropped it once, twice, before pulling out a folded envelope. She held it out to me. I didn't take it. What is that? Just read it. Claire took it instead. Opened it. Scanned whatever was inside.
Her face changed. What?
I asked. She didn't answer. Just handed me the papers. A life insurance policy. Daniel's name at the top. Mine below it. Lily as secondary beneficiary. Standard stuff. Except for the date. 6 weeks ago. And the beneficiary change form attached to it. Kendall's name typed neatly in the box where mine used to be. She was supposed to be secondary, Kendall whispered. That's what he told me. After we got married, he said he'd make it official. But he wanted me protected in case something happened. He said you had your own money, your own career, that you didn't need. She stopped. I stared at the paper. My husband was going to marry her. My husband was going to take the life insurance policy, the one his parents had helped him buy when Lily was born, and give it to someone else. And then he died. Before he could change it back? Before he could make it official? I didn't know. I'd never know. Because he was dead. And I was left with this. A stranger in my kitchen. A paper trail of betrayal. 8 months of lies I'd never get answers to. When was the wedding supposed to be? I asked. Kendall looked down. Next June. He wanted to wait until Lily was out of school for the summer. He said it would be easier on her that way. Easier on her. He was worried about making it easier on her. While I was planning her birthday party, buying her school supplies, tucking her in at night, and telling her daddy was working hard to provide for us. Ava. Claire's voice was soft, scared. Ava, you need to sit down. I was already sitting, but I felt like I was falling anyway. Kendall was still standing in the doorway, still holding the envelope, still crying. Part of me hated her. Part of me wanted to scream, to throw things, to make her feel even a fraction of the pain I was feeling. But another part, a quieter, more exhausted part, just wanted her to leave. Why didn't you stay in the back row? I asked. She blinked.
What?
At the funeral. You were in the back row. Why didn't you just stay there? Why did you have to text me? She looked down at her hands. Because I couldn't let you bury him without knowing the truth. I don't know what I thought. That you deserved to know. That I deserved to stop hiding. That he owed us both. He doesn't owe anyone anything.
My voice came out flat.
He's dead. The word hung in the air between us.
Dead.
Daniel was dead. And I was discovering that I never really knew him at all. Kendall nodded slowly. I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She moved toward the door.
Paused.
Looked back. I'm not going to fight you on the insurance, she said quietly. I don't want his money. I wanted you to know that I existed. That what we had was real. At least for me. She walked out. The door closed behind her. Claire and I sat in silence for a long time. Then I heard footsteps on the stairs. Mommy? Lily? I stood up, wiped my face, tried to arrange my expression into something that didn't look like my world had just collapsed again. Yeah, baby? I heard voices. Who was here? Just Aunt Claire and me, sweetie. Go back to sleep. She nodded, still half asleep, and padded back up the stairs. I waited until her door closed. Then I walked to the kitchen, opened the drawer where I kept important papers, and pulled out Daniel's will. The one we'd made together after Lily was born. The one that left everything to me, to us, to the life we'd built. I read it slowly. Every word. Then I read the life insurance form again. 2 different documents. 2 different futures. 2 different versions of the man I married. Which one was real? I didn't know. And now I never would. Claire came up behind me, put her hands on my shoulders. What do you need? She asked. I thought about it. I need to know who else was at that funeral. What do you mean? I turned to face her. She was in the back row. But was she alone? Did she come with anyone? Did anyone else there know about her, about the apartment, about the wedding, about any of it? Claire's eyes widened. You think someone else knew? I think Daniel didn't do anything alone. He had friends, coworkers, people who covered for him while he was building a second life. I walked to the window and looked out at the dark street. The rain had stopped, but something else was just beginning.
The doorbell rang.
Claire and I looked at each other. It's almost 10, she whispered. I walked to the door, opened it. A man stood on my porch. 40s, expensive coat, sad eyes. Ava Chun, he asked. Yes. My name is Mark Sullivan. I was Daniel's attorney. I stared at him. I'm sorry to come so late, he continued, but there are some things you need to know. About the estate. About Daniel's wishes. His wishes, I repeated.
Yes.
There's going to be a reading of the will tomorrow, but I thought you deserved a warning. A warning about what? He looked past me, at Claire, at the house, at the life Daniel had left behind. Then he looked back at me. There's another beneficiary. Someone Daniel added recently. The reading might be complicated. Another beneficiary. Not Kendall. He'd already told me about Kendall. Someone else. I see, I said quietly. Do you know who I'm talking about? I thought about the back row at the funeral. About Kendall's tear-streaked face. About the life insurance form with her name on it. I'm starting to, I said. Mark nodded. I'm sorry. For your loss. And for what comes next. He handed me a card and walked away. I closed the door and leaned against it.
Claire was watching me. Ava.
Yeah. What just happened? I looked at the card in my hand. I have no idea. But that was a lie. I had an idea. A terrible, impossible, life-altering idea. The kind of idea that makes you question every moment of the last 8 months. Every late night. Every missed call. Every time you told yourself you were imagining things. Daniel didn't just have a girlfriend. He had a whole other life. And I was just beginning to find out how deep it went. I didn't sleep that night. Not a single minute. I lay in bed, our bed, the one I'd shared with Daniel for 9 years, and stared at the ceiling while my brain replayed every conversation, every late night, every moment I dismissed as nothing. The apartment in the city. He told me it was for work, for those nights when meetings ran late and commuting home was impossible. I'd even helped him pack for it. Bought him a coffee maker, a blanket, little things to make it feel less temporary. 8 months. He'd had it for 8 months, and I'd helped him decorate. Around 3 a.m., I got up and walked to his closet, his side of the bedroom. The clothes I hadn't been able to touch since he died. I opened the door.
Suits. Shirts.
Shoes. All arranged neatly, the way he liked them. But something was different. The back of the closet, the deep shelves where he kept old boxes, winter coats, things we didn't use often, looked disturbed, like someone had been digging through it recently. I moved clothes aside and reached back. My hand hit something cold. Metal. A small safe. One I'd never seen before. I pulled it out and sat on the floor with it in my lap. Combination lock. 6 digits. I tried our anniversary. Nothing. Lily's birthday. Nothing. Our wedding date. Nothing. I sat there for a long time, holding this box of secrets, knowing the answer was somewhere in my head, but not knowing where. Then I tried one more number. Daniel's birthday. It clicked open. Inside, there were papers.
Lots of them.
Bank statements I didn't recognize. Credit cards in his name only. A lease agreement for an apartment on Diversey Avenue in Chicago. And photos. Photos of Kendall. Smiling on a beach. At a restaurant. In bed. I looked away from those quickly. But there was something else too. Tucked at the very bottom under everything else. A birth certificate. I pulled it out with shaking hands. Baby girl. Born 6 months ago. Name. Emma Rose Chun. Mother. Kendall Marie Hayes. Father. Daniel Robert Chun. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Couldn't do anything but stare at those words. Emma Rose Chun. My husband had a daughter. A baby. With someone else. while Lily was turning 7. While I was planning birthday parties and school events and family vacations. While I was lying next to him every night, believing we were a family. He had another child. Another family. I don't know how long I sat there. Minutes.
Hours.
The sun started coming up eventually, pale gray light through the curtains, and I was still on the floor, still holding the birth certificate, still not breathing right. Claire found me there at 7 a.m.
Ava?
I was worried you didn't answer your.
She stopped.
Saw my face.
Saw the papers in my hands.
What is that? I handed it to her. She read it. Her face went through about 12 expressions before settling on pure, white-hot rage. I'm going to kill him. He's already dead. Then I'll dig him up and kill him again. She sat down next to me on the floor, put her arm around me. We stayed like that for a long time. Does she know? Claire asked finally. Kendall? Does she know you know about the baby? I don't know. I don't know anything. We need to call that lawyer. Mark, whatever. Today. I nodded, but I was already somewhere else. Already thinking about what came next. The will reading was scheduled for 2 p.m. I left Lily with Claire's neighbor, someone we trusted, someone far from this mess, and drove downtown in a fog. The city looked different. Sharper. Meaner. Like Chicago itself was in on the secret I hadn't known. Mark Sullivan's office was in a high-rise on LaSalle Street. The kind of building where lawyers wore expensive suits and clients wore expressions of barely controlled panic. I was definitely in the second category. Mark met me in the lobby. His face was kind, which somehow made it worse. Thank you for coming, Ava. I know this is difficult. Difficult is one word for it. He nodded like he understood. Probably saw this all the time. Widows discovering their husbands weren't who they thought they were. This way, please. He led me to a conference room. Long table. Windows overlooking the city. A carafe of water and some glasses. And 2 other people. Kendall was one of them. She looked smaller than last night. Younger. More scared. She was holding something, a car seat, I realized. With a baby inside.
Emma.
I looked at her. Really looked. Dark hair, like Daniel. His nose, too. She was beautiful. In that way all babies are, and I hated her for it. Hated her for existing. Hated Daniel for making her. Next to Kendall sat an older woman. 60s. Sharp features. Expensive clothes. She looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Appraisal, maybe. Judgment. Please sit down, Mark said. I sat at the opposite end of the table. As far from them as possible. Mark opened a folder. Thank you all for coming. I know this is an unusual situation, and I want to acknowledge up front that Daniel's passing was sudden and tragic. My condolences to everyone here. No one spoke. Daniel retained my services about 6 months ago to update his estate planning. At that time, he made several significant changes to his will and other documents. 6 months ago, right when Emma would have been born, or just before. Under Illinois law, a will executed after a major life event, such as the birth of a child, is generally considered valid. However, there are complexities when there are multiple families involved. Multiple families. That's what we were now. Daniel's will divides his estate into 3 parts. The first third goes to you, Ava, as his spouse. The second third goes to Kendall Hayes, as the mother of his child. The third third is held in trust for Emma Rose Chun, his daughter. I stared at him. His daughter, I repeated. Yes. You knew about her. Mark hesitated. I knew about the provisions in the will. I didn't know the details of Daniel's personal life. My role was to execute his wishes. You helped him hide this. I helped him plan his estate. There's a difference. The older woman spoke for the first time. Ms. Chun, I'm Eleanor Hayes, Kendall's mother. I looked at her. I want you to know that I had no idea about you either. Not until after Daniel passed. My daughter was told a very different story. I glanced at Kendall. She was staring at the table, tears dripping onto the car seat cover. I don't care what she was told, I said. I care about my daughter, about the life Daniel and I built, about the fact that I'm finding out about all of this at his funeral. Eleanor nodded slowly. I understand. And I'm not here to fight. I'm here to make sure my granddaughter is taken care of. Your granddaughter?
Yes. Emma.
She's 7 months old. She's never met her father's wife. She's never met her half-sister. That's not her fault. I knew that. Logically, I knew that. But logic had nothing to do with what I was feeling. Mark cleared his throat. There's more. Of course there was. There's the life insurance policy. $2 million. Daniel changed the beneficiary 6 weeks ago. He split it, 50% to you, Ava, and 50% in trust for Emma. Kendall looked up. I don't want. It's not about what you want, Eleanor said quietly. It's about what Emma is entitled to. And the apartment? I asked. The one on Diversey? Mark consulted his notes. Daniel owned that apartment. It's part of the estate. It will need to be sold or allocated according to the will. He owned it, not rented.
Yes.
Purchased 4 months ago. 4 months ago, while I was planning our 10th anniversary trip. I need some air. I stood up and walked out before anyone could stop me. The hallway was empty.
Cold.
Quiet. I leaned against the wall and closed my eyes. When I opened them, Kendall was standing there. She looked terrible.
Pale. Shaking.
The baby was in her arms now, small and quiet. I'm sorry, she whispered. I know that doesn't help. But I'm sorry. You told me last night you didn't know about me. About Lily. I didn't. I swear. And the apartment? The will? The insurance? She shook her head. I knew about the apartment. I lived there. Part-time, like I said. But the will, I didn't know he'd put Emma in it. I didn't know about any of this until the lawyer called. I studied her face, looking for lies, looking for something to hold on to. Anger, mostly. Something clean. But she just looked lost. Just like me. How did you meet him? I asked. She blinked. What? Daniel. How did you meet him? She hesitated.
A bar.
In Lincoln Park. He was there with friends from work. I was out with mine. He bought me a drink. When? About a year ago.
A year.
So it started before Emma. Before the apartment. Before any of it. He told me he was separated, she continued. That you'd been growing apart for years. That Lily was the only reason he'd stayed as long as he had. He made it sound like you were roommates. Like the marriage was already over. I'd heard those words before. In another life. Another story. He was good at that. I said quietly. Making you believe what he wanted you to believe. She nodded.
Tears again.
I didn't come here to take anything from you. I don't want his money. I don't want his apartment. Emma deserves to know who her father was. Even if he wasn't who he thought. I looked at the baby. So small. So innocent. She had Daniel's eyes. Lily had Daniel's eyes too. Does she look like your daughter? Kendall asked softly. Lily, she has his eyes.
Kendall nodded.
Emma does too. We stood there in silence. 2 women connected by a dead man. 2 children who would grow up half-sisters, maybe, if we could figure out how to make that work. I should go back in, Kendall said finally. My mother worries. She walked away. I stayed in the hallway for another 10 minutes. When I finally returned to the conference room, Mark was reviewing documents with Eleanor. Kendall was feeding Emma a bottle. The scene was almost domestic. Almost normal. Almost. There's one more thing, Mark said as I sat down. Daniel had a safety deposit box at a bank downtown. It's listed in his estate documents, but I don't have access. You'll need to go together, the 3 of you, to open it. 3 of us. You, Kendall, and Eleanor. The box is titled in a way that requires multiple signatures. Daniel set it up that way intentionally. I looked at Kendall. At Eleanor. When? I asked. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. I'll send you the address. I nodded. What else could I do? The meeting ended. We filed out separately, Kendall and Eleanor first, me behind them. In the elevator, we stood on opposite sides, pretending we didn't exist to each other. But we did exist. All of us. And tomorrow, we'd find out what else Daniel had hidden. That night, I told Claire everything. The will, the baby, the safety deposit box. Kendall's face when she talked about meeting him. Eleanor's quiet protectiveness. Claire listened without interrupting. When I finished, she poured us both a glass of wine. What are you going to do? I don't know. You could fight it. The will, the insurance, all of it. You're his wife. Lily's his daughter. A judge might do a lot of things. But Emma is his daughter too. She exists. She didn't ask for any of this. Claire nodded slowly. So what? You're just going to share? I don't know what I'm going to do. I need to see what's in that box first. And then I need to figure out how to tell Lily. She has a sister. That stopped Claire cold. Are you going to tell her? I don't know. Eventually. She deserves to know the truth. But not yet. Not while I'm still figuring out what the truth even is. We sat in silence for a while. You're stronger than me, Claire said finally. I'd be burning things down right now. Maybe I will. After I know everything. She almost smiled. Let me come with you tomorrow. To the bank. I don't think they'll let you. The box requires specific signatures. Then I'll wait outside. You shouldn't be alone with them. I thought about Kendall's face in the hallway. The way she'd looked at Emma. The way she'd said I'm sorry like she actually meant it. I don't think they're dangerous, I said. I don't think they are either. But Daniel was. And he's the one who put you all in this room together. She had a point. The next morning, I dressed carefully. Professional.
Come.
Armor. Claire drove me to the bank and parked across the street. I'll be right here. Text me if you need anything. I kissed her cheek and walked inside. The bank was old school. Marble floors. High ceilings. Tellers in suits. A manager met me at the door and led me to a small room in the back. Kendall and Eleanor were already there. No baby this time. Emma was with a sitter, Eleanor explained. We nodded at each other. Strangers sharing a dead man. The manager brought out the box. Metal. Long, heavy. All three of you need to sign here, he said, pointing to a form. We signed. He left. The box sat on the table between us. No one moved. One of us should open it, Eleanor said finally. I reached for the lid. Inside, there were papers. More than I expected. Envelopes. Photographs. A small velvet pouch that clinked when I touched it. I started pulling things out. First, the photos. Kendall and Daniel. Smiling. Happy. On a beach somewhere, Florida. Maybe. Or Mexico. Kendall's face went pale. I didn't know he kept those. I handed them to her without comment. Next, documents. Bank statements for accounts I'd never seen. A deed for the apartment. A folder labeled Emma with her birth certificate and medical records. Then, the velvet pouch. I opened it. 3 rings spilled onto the table. 2 wedding bands. 1 engagement ring. I recognized mine. The simple gold band Daniel had put on my finger 9 years ago. The other wedding band was smaller.
Newer.
And the engagement ring, diamond, princess cut, exactly the kind Kendall's age would want, was clearly never meant for me.
Kendall stared at it.
He was going to propose. It wasn't a question. Looks like it, I said quietly. Eleanor picked up the ring. Examined it. Tiffany. Not cheap. Nothing about this was cheap. I kept digging. At the very bottom, there was an envelope with my name on it.
Ava.
I opened it with shaking hands. Inside, a single sheet of paper. Handwritten.
Ava.
If you're reading this, I'm gone. And you found out about everything I couldn't tell you while I was alive. I'm sorry. I know those words won't fix anything. I know they won't undo the hurt or the lies or the betrayal. But I need you to know that I never stopped loving you. Not really. I got lost. Somewhere along the way, I got lost and I didn't know how to find my way back. Kendall happened because I was weak. Emma happened because I was careless. The apartment, the accounts, the lies. All of it was me trying to have 2 lives because I couldn't choose one. But I should have chosen you. I should have fought for us. I didn't. And now I'm gone, and you're left with the mess. Please don't take it out on Kendall. She believed what I told her. She's not the villain in this story. I am. And please don't let Lily grow up hating me. Tell her I loved her. Tell her I was proud of her. Tell her The letter cut off mid-sentence, like he'd been interrupted, or like he'd given up trying to explain the inexplicable. I read it twice, 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it in my pocket. Kendall was watching me. What does it say? I looked at her, at Eleanor, at the mess of papers and photos and rings spread across the table. It says he was sorry, I said. It says we both got lied to. Kendall's eyes filled with tears. Eleanor reached across the table and took my hand. I let her. For a moment, we just sat there. 3 women connected by a man who'd failed us all. Then I stood up.
There's more in here, I said.
We need to go through it all. Together. Kendall nodded. Eleanor squeezed my hand and let go. We started sorting. And somewhere in the middle of bank statements and birth certificates and photographs of a life I never knew existed, I realized something. Daniel was gone, but we were still here. And whatever came next, we'd figure it out together. The sorting took hours. Bank statements revealed accounts I never knew existed. 3 of them, totaling nearly $200,000. Credit cards with balances I'd have to deal with. A storage unit receipt for a facility on the north side. And tucked inside a manila envelope, a handwritten list of names and dates that took me a minute to understand. Other women. 5 of them. Before Kendall. I stared at the list, at the dates going back years, and felt something inside me crack open. Not anger anymore. Something deeper. Something that felt like my entire marriage dissolving in slow motion. Kendall saw my face. What is it? I handed her the list. She read it. Her expression shifted from confusion to horror to something that looked almost like relief. I wasn't the only one, she whispered.
No.
You weren't. Eleanor took the list next. Her jaw tightened, but she said nothing. What was there to say? We kept digging. The storage unit key led to more questions. The credit card statements showed charges at restaurants I'd never heard of, hotels I'd never visited, jewelry stores I'd never walked into. There was a pattern to it. Gifts, dinners, weekends away. The architecture of an affair, repeated over and over. 6 years. He'd been doing this for 6 years. Our entire marriage. By the time we finished, it was after 2 p.m. The bank manager had checked on us twice, clearly uncomfortable with how long we'd been in the room. But we couldn't stop. Couldn't leave until we'd seen everything. When we finally packed it all back into the box, except the letter, which stayed in my pocket, we were all exhausted in different ways. What happens now?
Kendall asked.
I don't know, I admitted. I need to talk to my lawyer. Figure out the estate stuff. The will, the insurance, and the storage unit? I'll deal with it. Eleanor spoke up. You don't have to do this alone. I looked at her, at Kendall, at these 2 strangers who'd become unwilling partners in this disaster. I know, I said quietly, but I need some time to think. We walked out of the bank together. Claire was still across the street, leaning against her car, pretending to look at her phone, but watching us like a hawk. Kendall stopped before getting into her mother's car.
Ava.
I turned. I know you have no reason to trust me. I know I'm the last person you want to see, but I meant what I said. I didn't know about you, about any of this. She gestured at the bag of documents I was carrying. I was as blind as you were. I studied her face, looking for lies, looking for something to hold on to. I believe you, I said finally, and weirdly I meant it. She nodded, got in the car, drove away. Claire crossed the street. Well, what happened? I held up the bag. We're going to need more wine. That night, I spread everything across the dining room table. Bank statements, credit card bills, the list of names, the storage unit key, the rings, the photos, the letter. Claire sat across from me, reading through it all with the expression of growing horror. This is... She couldn't finish.
Yeah.
6 years. At least. And Kendall was just the last one. The last one we know about. Claire picked up the list of names. These women, do you think they knew? About each other? Probably not.
About me?
Who knows what he told them?
He was good at this.
He was a professional. We sat in silence for a while. Then Claire asked the question I'd been avoiding. Are you going to tell Lily? I looked at the photo of Daniel on the mantle. His smile. His eyes. The father my daughter adored. I don't know how. Maybe you don't have to.
Not all of it.
Not yet. She has a sister, Claire. A half-sister she doesn't know about. Eventually, that's going to come out. Eventually.
Not now.
I nodded slowly. She was right. Lily was 7. She was grieving her father. She didn't need to know about his other life, not yet. But eventually, she'd have to know. The next few days blurred together. I met with Mark Sullivan again to go over the estate. The will was valid, there was no fighting it. Daniel had been careful, as always. The money would be split 3 ways. Me, Kendall, and Emma in trust. The life insurance was more complicated. The beneficiary change was recent enough that I could contest it, but Mark was honest about my chances. He had a child. A minor child. Courts tend to favor provisions for minor children, even when they're from another relationship. So, I just accept it. You can fight, but it will be expensive, ugly, and take years. And you might lose anyway. I thought about Lily, about the future I wanted to give her, about the energy it would take to wage war against a dead man's secrets. No, I said finally. No fighting. Just make sure Emma gets what she's supposed to get. And I get what I'm supposed to get. And we're done. Mark nodded. That's probably wise.
Wise.
That's one word for it. The storage unit was next. I went alone. Claire offered to come, but I needed to do this by myself. Needed to see, without anyone else watching, what else my husband had hidden. The facility was on the north side, tucked behind a strip mall. Unit 47. I unlocked it with the key from the safety deposit box and pulled up the door. Inside, it looked like someone's basement. Boxes stacked neatly. Furniture draped in sheets. A lamp I recognized from our first apartment. A bookshelf we'd bought together at a garage sale. And more photos. Lots of photos. I started opening boxes.
Clothes.
Baby clothes, I realized with a jolt. Tiny onesies, little socks, blankets. All new, still with tags. Things he'd bought for Emma, maybe. Or things he'd bought for Lily that she'd outgrown. I couldn't tell. Another box held letters.
Dozens of them.
Handwritten. In envelopes with no return address. I opened one at random. Daniel, I miss you already. Last night was perfect. I know this is complicated, but I believe what you said, that we'll find a way to be together. Just give it time. Love, S.
S.
I checked the list of names.
Sarah.
One of the early ones, from about 5 years ago. There were letters from all of them.
Sarah.
Melissa. Jenna. Courtney. And Kendall. Her letters were the most recent, the most hopeful, talking about their future, their baby, their life together. He'd kept them all. Every single one. I sat on the dusty floor of that storage unit, surrounded by my husband's secrets, and I didn't cry. I was past crying. I was past everything except a kind of numb amazement that a person could live 2 lives so completely. That he could come home to me every night, kiss my forehead, tell me he loved me, and then write letters like this to other women.
Who was he?
Had I ever known him at all? I don't know how long I sat there. Long enough for my legs to fall asleep. Long enough for the light through the open door to shift from afternoon to evening. When I finally stood up, I made a decision. I wasn't going to destroy this. Wasn't going to burn it or hide it or pretend it didn't exist. Lily deserved to know her father someday. The real one, not the myth. And Emma deserved the same. But not yet. Not until they were old enough to understand that people are complicated. That love and betrayal can exist in the same person. That Daniel wasn't a monster. He was just a man who couldn't stop hurting the people who loved him. I locked up the unit and drove home. Claire was waiting with dinner and questions. I answered what I could. The next morning, I called Kendall. She sounded surprised to hear from me. Ava, is everything okay? I need to talk to you. About Emma. About the future. Okay. Can we meet? Somewhere neutral. She suggested a coffee shop in Lincoln Park, halfway between her place and mine. I agreed. We met at 11 a.m. She brought Emma, who was sleeping in her car seat. I brought coffee for both of us. For a moment, we just looked at each other across the table. Two women who should have been enemies, bound together by a man who'd failed us both. "I've been thinking," I said, "about what comes next."
Kendall nodded.
Waiting. Lily is 7. Emma is 7 months. They're sisters. They don't know each other yet, but they will eventually. And when they do, I don't want it to be complicated by anger or lawsuits or fighting over money. I don't want that either. I know. That's why I'm here. I pulled out a folder, the one Mark had helped me prepare. This is a proposal. Not a legal document. We'll need lawyers for that. But a starting point. Kendall opened it. Scanned the pages. You're offering shared holidays? Eventually. When Lily's ready. When Emma's older. I don't want them to grow up as strangers. Kendall looked up at me, eyes shining. You do that? After everything? I do it for them. Not for Daniel. Not for you or me. For those two little girls who didn't ask for any of this. Emma stirred in her car seat, made a small sound. Kendall reached down and gently rocked her back to sleep. She looks like him, I said quietly. I know. Every time I look at her, I see him. Lily does too. Same eyes. We sat with that for a moment. I'd like to meet her, Kendall said softly. Lily, not now when you're ready, but someday. I thought about my daughter, about how she'd react to finding out she had a sister, about how to explain something I still didn't fully understand myself. Someday, I agreed. When we're both ready. Kendall nodded, closed the folder.
Thank you, she said.
For not hating me. I don't hate you. I don't have the energy for it. She almost smiled. I understand that. We finished our coffee.
Said goodbye.
Went back to our separate lives. But something had shifted. We were connected now. By Daniel. By his daughters. By the strange, terrible gift of shared secrets. And maybe that connection would become something else someday. Maybe not friendship that felt like too much. But something. Respect, maybe. Understanding. I drove home thinking about the future. About Lily and Emma. About the years ahead and how different they'd look from the years behind. Claire called while I was on the highway. How'd it go? Okay, I think. We're not enemies anymore. That's progress. It's something. Are you okay? I thought about the question.
Really thought about it.
I don't know, I admitted. But I'm getting there. That night, I sat on the back porch with a glass of wine and watched the stars. Daniel was gone. His secrets were out. His other family existed, real and breathing and part of my life now, whether I wanted them or not. I could fight it, could make everything ugly and complicated and endless. Or I could accept it, could find a way to make it work. For Lily, for Emma, for myself. I chose acceptance. The next week, I met with Mark to finalize the estate. Signed papers. Agreed to terms. Made it official. Kendall and I met twice more. Once to go over the details of Emma's trust. Once just to talk. About Daniel. About the girls. About what comes next. She told me more about their relationship. How it started. What he'd promised her. The moment she found out she was pregnant and how scared she'd been. He was happy, she said. When I told him. Really happy. That's what I held on to. That he wanted her. That he wanted us. He probably did. In his way. In his way, she repeated. I guess that's the best any of us got. I thought about the letter in my pocket. The one that cut off mid-sentence. The one that said, he should have chosen me. Maybe he meant it. Maybe he didn't. I'd never know. And somehow that was okay. October arrived with cool weather and changing leaves. Lily started asking questions about Daniel. About where he was. About whether he could see her from heaven. I answered as honestly as I could. He loves you very much. And he's always watching over you. It wasn't a lie. He did love her. In his flawed, broken way, he did. The rest, the other women, the secrets, the double life, she didn't need to know about that yet.
Someday.
But not yet. One afternoon, I took her to the beach. We built sandcastles and collected shells and ate ice cream that melted faster than we could finish it. Mommy. Yeah, baby. Do you think Daddy would have liked it here? I looked at the ocean, at my daughter, at the life we were building without him. I think he'd be happy that we're happy. She nodded, satisfied with that answer, and ran back to her sandcastle. I watched her go, and for the first time in months, I felt something close to peace. The call came on a Tuesday. Eleanor Hayes, Kendall's mother. Ava, I'm sorry to bother you, but something's happened. My heart stopped.
What?
It's Kendall. She's been in an accident. A car accident. She's in the hospital. Is she okay? A pause. Too long. She's alive. But she's not conscious. The doctors aren't sure when she'll wake up. I sat down hard. And Emma? Emma wasn't in the car. Thank God. She's with me. But Ava, Kendall named you in her emergency contact. I didn't know until the hospital called. She listed you as Emma's guardian if anything happened to her. I couldn't breathe.
What?
I know it's a lot, but she trusted you. For whatever reason, she trusted you. I thought about Kendall, about her face in the coffee shop, about the way she'd said thank you for not hating me. She's going to be okay, I said. She has to be. I hope so, but in case she's not, in case I needed you to know. I hung up and sat in silence.
Emma.
Daniel's daughter, the baby I'd tried not to love. If Kendall didn't wake up, that baby would be mine. Not legally, not yet. There would be courts, lawyers, fights. Eleanor would fight. Kendall's family would fight. But Kendall had named me. Me of all people.
Why?
I drove to the hospital that night. Kendall was in a room on the 3rd floor.
Tubes.
Machines. The sound of breathing that wasn't really breathing. Eleanor was there, holding Emma. She hasn't woken up, Eleanor said quietly. They don't know if she will. I looked at Kendall's face.
Pale.
Still. So young. She named me, I said. Why would she name me? Eleanor shook her head. She said you were the only one who understood. The only one who'd been through what she'd been through. The only one who'd tell Emma the truth about her father. The truth. What even was the truth anymore? I stayed for an hour. Held Emma. Talked to Kendall even though she couldn't hear me. You have to wake up, I whispered. I can't do this without you. No response. Just the machines. Just the waiting. I went home that night and sat on the porch for hours. Lily was asleep. The house was quiet. The ocean made its endless sound. I thought about Daniel, about Kendall, about the 2 little girls who would grow up marked by all of this. And I made a promise to myself. Whatever happened, whether Kendall woke up or didn't, I would be there for Emma. Not because Daniel asked me to, not because I had to, because she was a child who deserved to be loved. And I had enough love left. Somewhere, somehow, I had enough. The waiting lasted 11 days. 11 days of hospital rooms and coffee that tasted like ash and Emma's small face asking for her mother in ways she didn't have words for yet. 11 days of Eleanor and me taking turns, building a fragile rhythm between strangers who'd become reluctant partners. I called Claire every night. She wanted to fly out, but I told her to wait. There was nothing to do but wait. On day 5, I brought Lily to meet Emma. I'd thought about it for days. How to explain, what to say, whether it was too soon. But Lily kept asking where I was going, why I was tired all the time, who I was talking to on the phone. So I sat her down and told her the truth. The simplified version, anyway. Daddy had another daughter, I said gently.
A baby.
Her name is Emma. Her mommy is sick, so I'm helping take care of her. Lily's face went through a series of expressions I couldn't read. Another daughter? Yes. Like a sister? Half-sister. Same daddy, different mommy. She was quiet for a long time.
Processing.
7 years old, and already learning that families could be complicated. Can I meet her? Are you sure? She's my sister. Half-sister. Whatever. I want to meet her.
So we went.
The hospital playroom was bright and sterile. I brought Emma and her carrier. Lily sat on the floor and stared at her. She's small. She's 7 months old. She has daddy's eyes. I nodded, swallowed the lump in my throat. Lily reached out and touched Emma's hand. Emma grabbed her finger and held on. She's strong, Lily said, surprised.
Yeah, she is.
Lily looked up at me. Can we keep her? I almost laughed. She's not a puppy, baby. She has a mommy. We're just helping until her mommy gets better. And if she doesn't get better? The question hung in the air. I don't know, I admitted. But whatever happens, we'll figure it out together. Lily nodded like that made sense. Then she went back to playing with Emma's fingers. On day 8, Kendall opened her eyes. I wasn't there when it happened. Eleanor called me at 3 a.m., sobbing. She's awake. She's awake and she's talking and she's asking for Emma. I drove to the hospital in my pajamas. Kendall looked terrible, pale, thin, tubes everywhere, but her eyes were open, really open. She smiled when she saw me. You came. Of course I came. Emma? With Eleanor.
Sleeping.
She's okay. Kendall closed her eyes. Tears leaked out the corners. I thought I was going to die. You didn't. I know. Because of you. Eleanor told me you've been here every day. That you brought Lily. That you. Stop. I sat down next to her. You don't owe me anything. You'd do the same.
Would she?
I didn't know, but it felt like the right thing to say. She opened her eyes again. I meant it, you know. What I put in the emergency contact forms. If something happens to me, I want Emma with you. Not my family. Not Daniel's. You. Why? Because you'll tell her the truth. The whole truth. About her father. About us. About everything. My mother would make him a saint. Your family would make him a villain. You're the only one who sees him as he was, flawed and human and complicated. I didn't know what to say to that. So I just sat there, holding her hand, waiting for whatever came next. The recovery took months. Kendall moved in with Eleanor temporarily. Physical therapy, follow-up appointments, the slow work of rebuilding. I visited when I could, brought Lily sometimes, let them get to know each other in small doses. Lily loved Emma, genuinely, deeply loved her. She asked to visit, to hold her, to push her stroller. She talked about my sister like it was the most natural thing in the world. Kids are amazing that way. They don't carry the baggage we do. Thanksgiving came. I invited Kendall and Eleanor and Emma to join us. It felt weird, typing that message. Weird and right. They came. We cooked together, ate together, watched the girls play together. At one point, Kendall pulled me aside. I never thanked you. Properly. For everything. You don't have to. I do. She looked at me with those young eyes, so much older now than they'd been at the funeral. You could have hated me, could have fought me, could have made everything impossible. Instead, you showed up. Every single time. I thought about the journey that brought us here. The funeral. The text. The safety deposit box. The hospital. We're family now, I said. Complicated, messy, unconventional family. But family. She laughed. Actually laughed. I never expected to find a sister in my dead boyfriend's wife. Life's weird like that.
Yeah,
it is. Christmas came with lights and chaos and way too much food. I bought presents for everyone. Lily got art supplies and a new bike. Emma got stuffed animals and soft blankets. Kendall got a journal for writing down your story, I told her. Eleanor got nice wine. On Christmas Eve, after the girls were asleep, Kendall and I sat on my porch with glasses of wine and watched the ocean. I talked to a lawyer, she said quietly, about guardianship. Official guardianship. In case something happens. Kendall. I know. I'm fine now, but life is unpredictable. And I want Emma to know legally that you're the one I trust. I nodded slowly. Okay. But only if I'm your backup too. She looked at me, confused. If something happens to me, you get Lily. Her eyes went wide. Ava. You're her sister's mother. Your family. And you're a good mom. I've seen it. She was quiet for a long time. Then she reached over and squeezed my hand. Deal. January brought new routines. Lily and Emma had standing playdates every Sunday. Kendall and I had coffee while the girls played. We talked about everything, Daniel, sure, but also other things. Our lives, our hopes, the women we were becoming. I started writing again. Not about Daniel this time, about something else. A novel, maybe. About a woman who loses everything and finds something unexpected. About family in all its strange forms. One night, Lily asked me a question. Mommy, is it weird that I have two families? I pulled her close. Why would it be weird? Because most kids don't. They have one mom and one dad, and that's it. Most kids, maybe, but not all. Families come in all different shapes. Some have two moms. Some have two dads. Some have grandparents raising them. Some have step-parents and half-siblings, and people who love them in all kinds of ways. Like us. Like us. You've got me. You've got Aunt Claire. You've got Emma and Kendall and Eleanor. That's a lot of people who love you.
She thought about that.
That's pretty good. Yeah, baby. It is. Spring arrived with flowers and warmer days. Emma turned 1. We had a party at the beach, small, just us. Lily decorated cupcakes. Kendall made a mess trying to get Emma to smash her cake. Eleanor took approximately 1,000 photos. I stood back and watched them. This strange family I never asked for. This life I never expected. Daniel's face flashed through my mind. His smile. His lies. His secrets. I didn't feel angry anymore. I felt grateful. Not for the betrayal. Not for the pain. But for what came after.
For the women standing on that beach.
For the girls playing in the sand. For the version of myself I'd become. Stronger, wiser, more open than I ever was before. Sometimes the worst moments really do become the beginning of something new. You just have to survive long enough to find out what. That night, after everyone left, I sat on the porch with a glass of wine and watched the sunset. My phone buzzed. A text from Kendall.
Thank you for everything.
For being exactly who Emma and I needed. I smiled. Right back at you. I put the phone down and looked at the ocean. The waves kept coming.
Steady.
Reliable. Unchanged.
So was I.
But different too.
Better.
Lily's voice floated out from inside. Mommy, come watch this movie with us. Emma's baby laugh followed. I stood up, walked inside, joined my daughters on the couch. We watched some animated movie I'd seen a dozen times. Lily quoted along with the funny parts. Emma fell asleep halfway through, her small head resting against my arm. I looked at them. My girls. Mine, even if the world might say otherwise. And I thought about Daniel, about the mess he'd left behind, about the letter that ended mid-sentence. I hoped he could see this, wherever he was. I hoped he was proud. Not of himself. He'd done nothing to be proud of. But of us. Of what we'd built from the wreckage. Of the family that shouldn't exist but did anyway. The movie ended. Lily yawned. Emma slept on. I carried Emma to the guest room. Her room now, really, since she stayed so often. Laid her in the crib. Covered her with the blanket Kendall had knitted. Then I went to Lily's room.
Tucked her in.
Kissed her forehead. Night, Mommy. Night, baby. I stood in the doorway for a moment, watching them both. Then I walked to my room, climbed into bed, and closed my eyes. For the first time in over a year, I slept peacefully. The next morning, I woke to sunlight and the sound of children laughing. I lay there for a moment, listening. Then I got up and walked into the kitchen. Kendall was already there, making coffee. Emma was in her high chair, smearing oatmeal everywhere. Lily was telling a long, complicated story about something that happened at school. They looked up when I walked in. Morning, Kendall said. Morning. Sleep okay? Really okay. You? Better than okay. Lily tugged my sleeve. Mommy, guess what? Emma said a new word. What word? She said Ly. She said my name. I looked at Emma. She grinned at me. Oatmeal all over her face. Ly, she babbled. Lily beamed. Kendall caught my eye and smiled. And standing there in my kitchen, surrounded by chaos and coffee and the family I never expected, I felt something I'd almost forgotten.
Joy.
Real, uncomplicated joy. Not because Daniel died. Not because of the betrayal or the pain or any of it, but because of what came after. Because of who I became.